2008 regular season is where the Detroit Lions became the first team in NFL history to complete a winless season, 0-16. So today, I'm going to see if I can rebuild the worst team in NFL history. So how will the Detroit Lions respond from being the worst team in NFL history? Well, we are here at the beginning of the 2009 regular season. This is the Madden 10 ratings of this Detroit Lions team. Every starter's ratings is lined up. We have Matthew Stafford here, who was a 79 overall. Now, there wasn't dev traits back in the day, but I think it's very easy to give him a superstar dev trait. He already had to line up 1 overall point in training camp because, let's be honest, Matt Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks. In terms of talent, I feel like he's in that Dan Marino where... I mean, he does have the ring, which he would probably, maybe has him a little bit ahead. But as far as like pure arm talent, Matt Stafford's top 10 all-time at minimum, if not closer to top 5. He's an excellent player, and I think it's going to be pretty fun that we don't have to do this rebuild starting off with a question mark at quarterback. I think we get an excellent starting point to try and rebuild one of the worst teams, if not the worst team of all time. The rest of the offense, we don't got much of a run game. Got Keith Smith there. Pettigrew, I'm actually surprised, had a decent rating at this point in time, but this was kind of before, you gotta cash in on the hype. And as a rookie, Brandon Pettigrew, as a 78 overall, was expected to be a difference maker. And now, I think he, maybe not fair to say he was an all-out bust because he stuck around the league for a while, but he wasn't the bee's knees. He wasn't what he was expected to do and did not live up to set expectations. The offensive line is, chairless is not too bad. Our 2 other highest linemen in Backus and Raiola are well into their 30s, so they are likely at their ceiling and only going to regress from here on out. Manny Ramirez had a decent NFL career, but for the most part, nothing really to write home about the offensive line. Run game is what it is. Receiving game is incredibly light outside of, in my opinion, the most dominant wide receiver after Randy Moss, and that is Megatron Calvin Johnson, 6'5", 240. He was a 92 overall with a superstar X Factor, just an unguardable machine. 96 speed, 96 acceleration, 97 catching, 94 spec, all the route runnings in the 90s, 90 release, 96 jumping. There's just no stopping this man. I feel like nowadays, some people I know my demographics. I really wish I could get some, there's no real way to say what demographic I'd like to attract more of, because it sounds really weird, but I know everyone watching this video at least saw Calvin Johnson play for the most part. You know how damn good he was. So the fact that we are going to be able to play, for the most part, the entire career of Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford is awesome and sick to do, and I think there's a what-if that exists there. Because that Detroit Lions team had a really potent offense. Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson were pretty unstoppable, but they still never found a way to get that postseason and playoff success. That is what we are going to try and rewrite here in today's video. But the downside of that is there's going to come a point in time where we're going to have Calvin Johnson's mega insane contract on the books with Matthew Stafford's mega insane contract on the books, and that is going to severely hinder how we can build the team around them. Defense is also, not a strength of this team. You look at the defensive line, you have literally everybody outside of Cliff Averill is into their 30s, so we're going to have to retool that entire line. Cliff Averill, though, does have some upside, 72 with a startup. I do think he play better when he went on to the Seattle Seahawks, but there's a good player in there. He had a nice NFL career. Our secondary, very much like the rest of our D-line, just role players, to say the least, not a corner on this roster that I think has a lot of upside. Our safety room is led by Louis Delmas, another rookie that pulled a dev trade. He was a 78, actually a 77 base roster as a rookie. So Delmas, Pettigrew, and Matt Stafford all got very generous starting rookie ratings. Maybe that's because the Madden developers wanted to they're terrible. At this point in time, I mean, the rating scale is different, but they were a 65 overall starting point roster in Madden 10. That is maybe the lowest I've ever seen. But they got it right, at least with Delmas. He had a real nice career at safety, so I don't think that, that 77 he had, much like Matt Stafford, a decent training camp up to a 78 is that unfair. Linebacking core, you got Julian Peterson, great veteran, but his best football is behind him at 85. We have Larry Foote, who spent a lot of time with the Pittsburgh Steelers, brings a little bit of a veteran presence. DeAndre Levy, emerged as a really, really good linebacker. I feel like a couple years in, he was like in the high 80s, low 90s in Madden. But his rookie starting point was, no one knew if he was going to be that good or not. So he's going to have to go through the grind if he wants to develop into a playmaker. But we did give him a dev trait for an opportunity to do so. And the best linebacker on this team, and a guy that probably is the best defensive player right now, is Ernie Sims. I loved Ernie Sims. He played for the Philadelphia Eagles for like a year or two, like a heat-seeking missile. He is height, weight, speed personified, an undersized linebacker. But man, oh man, did he pack a punch, and was he ever quick. So he'll be a guy that we try to keep and develop. Now, the only worry here, and I'm going to do this right now to avoid the Chiefs, because I really think our defense is bad. I'm going to have him play outside linebacker, but I'm going to have him classify as a middle linebacker, so we do not have to pay edge rush money for him when it comes time to re-sign him. We finish up with special teams just because he's an all-time Detroit Lion great. They have Jason Hanson. He was a 97 overall, but kicker ratings were severely inflated on the older Maddens. We have him now as an 89 at 39 years old, 17 years in the league. Yeah. Probably, I don't think you'll find a Detroit Lion fan that can say anything wrong about him. Legend. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. To bounce back after a winless season in a draft where you got Matt Stafford. Now, Brandon Pettigrew in the first round didn't age particularly well, but from our standpoint, from our Madden starting point standpoint, the Madden 10 start point, I mean, there's something there. He's a 78 star dev rookie tight end. Then you get Louis Delmas in the second round, DeAndre Levy in the third round. All those guys, especially Delmas and Levy, became very good starters for you. Stafford became the best quarterback in franchise history. That's how you rebound right away. And then what they did in 2010 is they went out and drafted the best defensive player I've ever seen play the game of college football in Ndamukong Suh. I don't expect we're going to be bad enough to get that number 2 pick. But if we do, if we're close, if we're top 10, there absolutely could be a scenario that I'm aggressive in trying to repeat history here with Ndamukong Suh. In the second round this year, they also got a guy, in my opinion, this is like, this is probably when I just started to feel comfortable. Like, I watch a lot of college football at this time in my life when this draft was happening. And Javid Best is a what if. He hurt his neck, like trying to do a front flip celebration into the end zone. It was never the same player. But he was, I guess, in terms of similarity in what it's him and CJ Spiller were kind of the same type, like sprinters, track guys at running back, that if Javid Best never suffered that injury, maybe the Detroit Lions don't go through like that decade of where we are right now. Where they didn't, how many years did they go without having a 1,000-yard rusher? Maybe that's the biggest reason why this Stafford, Megatron-led Lions era never was able to really go on deep playoff runs, because they never had a run game. They always were one of the worst rushing attacks in the league, which is kind of bizarre when you think about Detroit Lions right now. You associate them with being able to run the football. But Javid Best, I don't think at that time was a brutal pick. Maybe they didn't do their due diligence in checking the medical, but from a talent standpoint, absolutely worth the swing of a guy that they drafted in the first round as well. So we have plenty of options as we go forward, but it would be kind of cool, even if for just this 1 year, if we suck and can find a way to land Ndamukong Suh. So we're the first game in Matt Stafford's history. So we're at least going to try and hop in here on a couple drives, see if we can get that chemistry going with Megatron, see if Pettigrew can figure it out a little bit. Here we go. It's going to be a lot of quick throws. Got him. Right there. Now, we are going to put Calvin Johnson in the slot. Wait, is that Calvin Johnson? That might be the other Johnson. Is that the other John? I'm telling you right now, if that is, because I'm pretty sure Megatron's 81. We got to get rid of this Bryant Johnson just from the mistake. But there we go. First touchdown in Stafford's history goes to Bryant Johnson. Oh, there we go. There's Calvin Johnson getting involved. Got a shootout on our hands. But you know what team's used to a shootout at this point in time? Team that just couldn't play good defense to save their life. Team that played themselves in position to draft into Ndamukong Suh. Trailing again, pretty much every time our defense steps foot on the field, they are giving up a touchdown. So we're going to have to just keep pace. We got Y. Someone's been getting, that's not a great ball, though, but it is good enough to the running back. Kevin Smith, who did have, I'm pretty sure he put up some ridiculous numbers in college. Never really panned out in the NFL. But maybe he'll be a what-if type player for us. Get our blocks. Tie this one up. Come on, defense. Give me one stop. Oh, they could not. We were very much in. If we can find a way to score. 2-point conversion. Win it in regulation on the road. Megatron. 98 throw power, Matt Stafford. You always know this is always going to happen. Boom. Honestly, with how our defense is playing, this might have been scoring a little too early. Over to drive in overtime. We got 5 touchdowns for Matt Stafford in his NFL debut. And a chance. Oh, we got him. And a chance and a walk-off. Let's go, Brian Johnson. I feel like I thought they had Roy Williams at this time. Just before, pre-Roy Williams? Yeah, I'm tripping, man. Either way, 6 touchdown overtime thrill by Stafford. Megatron went off. 6 touchdowns, 400 yards, and an all-time shootout against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Let's go, baby. Hey, at least not back-to-back winless seasons. A truly legendary debut performance. Gets himself a Player of the Week performance. The reality, though, is we had a lot of fun with the offense. The passing offense is the only thing that's good about this team. Defense is terrible. We are 2-4. We are playing ourselves in a position to maybe get it Ndamukong Suh. Get a nice win before the bye week over a rival in the Green Bay Packers. And we're in a good spot salary cap-wise. $175 million. So I think with that, we'll see if we can get the old head Dominic Raiola back. We all know his son right now at Nebraska, baby Mahomes. So we'll get him back here on a 2-year deal. I think Ernie Sims, that's going to be important. That's also a lot of money. But I think he has a very high ceiling. And he'd be the contract that you feel comfortable giving because we're on a rookie quarterback contract right now. So let's go mega deal here for Ernie Sims. 6 years. Boom. We are terrible. The only thing that's kind of funny is we sweep the Packers, who are pretty good at this point in time. Get a Player of the Week performance from Megatron. 14 catches, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. Good God. So the end of year number 1 of this rebuild, we go 5-11 with this mod. We are back to the traditional 16-game regular season. We're going to work with that. Looking at how all the stats broke down. Well, Stafford played pretty well for a rookie. 3,900 yards, just under 4,000. 33 touchdowns, only 8 picks. Now, it's maybe not S tier for a rookie. We've seen better from a rookie, but we've seen a lot worse. I think given his supporting cast outside of a player that's going to have pretty staggering numbers in a second, this is not a complete offense. Far from it. Run game, not complimentary. Pass game, well, Megatron is Megatron. 92 catches, almost 1,700 yards, and 26 touchdowns. A human cheat code by not great production at a Pettigrew. Everybody else was a role player at best. Defensively, Ernie Sims and the rookie DeAndre Levy crushed it. Both over 100 tackles. Sims justifying that contract extension. 10.5 sacks from Julian Peterson. DeVries with 8. 4 from Cliff Averill on 11 TFLs. Like to see him kind of step it up just a little bit. And our interceptions are terrible. NFC Offensive Player of the Year and Wide Receiver of the Year goes to Calvin Johnson. The Offensive Rookie of the Year running away with the award was Matthew Stafford. And we, maybe unsurprisingly, get Kicker of the Year going to Jason Hanson. Start the offseason with a couple retirements as our corner one and D-tackle one retired, Anthony Henry and Grady Jackson. I'll always plug my Eagles winning a Super Bowl. Cool. Gotta get some bargain signings in free agency. Our first free agency period. We're gonna look at James Ehedebo, who I'm pretty sure played for the Lions. But we're gonna look at him at strong safety play of Louis Delmas, 26.72. Just gives us a little bit of depth there. And then Corey Graham's a good signing, 25.75 with a dev trade, able to get him on a very reasonable 4-year deal. And he likely will have an opportunity to be corner one next season, unless we get one early in the draft. I need to do this to cover my ass here before we get into the 2010 draft. So, where are we gonna be batted out to get Ndamukong Suh? Projected to go first in mock draft 1. Mock draft 2 projected to go first. Mock draft 3 falls to 2. However, mock draft 4 and 5, he's not even projected to be a first-round pick. So we have our 2 first rounds. I was prepared to trade both these first-round picks to, ensure that we'd get Ndamukong Suh. So I was like, what happened? Now, if I did something nefarious, I wouldn't be showing all this. I have never seen this happen in any of these classes. He has fallen 82 spots. He is currently now a 3rd to 4th. I did nothing. I imported the class when I was supposed to. I didn't even focus scout players. So I have no idea how or why this happened. Again, if I did something, I would just go to the draft and be like, oh, look, Shoe fell to us. I have no, because now I'm worried. There's a chance. I'm going to assume he's going to be there. We pick at 9 and 10 this year. I'm going to assume he's there. I don't know, because this is clearly bugged or glitched. If I can trust that mock draft, because he was going top 2 picks for the first 3. Now he completely falls out of the first round. I think we got to trust that he will be there, but it is under no certainty. So we're going to go right to our pick. Okay, he is still there. We pick at 8 and 9 in this draft. This is where the Lions got Ndamukong and Javid Best. For us up first, I'm going to take advantage of whatever the hell this is. And we're going to get Ndamukong. Maybe the game just wants me to get Ndamukong. Have you guys ever seen that? I've seen, like, in Madden generated classes, guys that are first round just completely plummet. But, like, was there some RNG? No idea. I couldn't ask for it. Like, and why is it that one player? Why? It could have been anybody. I could have looked at it and seen Sam Bradford, who's supposed to go one, fall all the way. And I'm like, oh, that's okay, cool. How is it the one guy I wanted? I have no idea. And I wish if I did, I would explain how I did that. But we will take it. Number 1 in true value at 8. We get to relive that history. We get maybe the best college defensive player of all time. And now we're on the clock at pick 9. I'm not going to lie. I saw Eric Berry up there. We might just have to draft BPA. So looking at our team, we still have kind of a need for running back, but I'm not saying it's a pressing need at wide receiver. Demaryius Thomas would be an excellent wide receiver too. You have Golden Tate, who could work. Des Bryant could work. There's a lot of wide receivers, but I'd want to gamble on these guys going to be available in the 2nd round. Got Gronk at tight. Why do we? Man, I should have nerfed Pettigrew. I should have not gone with his actual rookie rating and made him more realistic. Because imagine putting Gronk on this team. But from the state of our roster, we have Pettigrew, who's, 24 years old, 80 star dev. You wouldn't be investing that on Gronk. Offensive line, we could go with Kuhn. Could look at Pouncey. Pretty much anywhere across the offensive line would make sense. Defense is where our team was butt cheeks. We got Ndamukong. We have Cliff Averill, but we need another pass rusher. We need another D tackle. Looking at the pass rushers that are available, that would be picked at this time. I don't think we double up at D tackle. The linebackers, not the best. Joe Hayden, huh? Eric Berry. Oh, man, Eric Berry's so good. As much as I love Florida Gator bias Joe Hayden. But I think if we're going to go with the Gronk argument, I mean, we could just as easily move, like, Eric Berry to strong safety if we wanted to. But we have Louis Delmas as a free safety, who's one of the highlights of our secondary. Our corners are absolute butt cheeks. So I think at this point in time, we're going to cash in a little Florida Gator bias here. Go get Joe Hayden, number 9 in true value at pick number 9. And we get the depth trait. Another pick of the 2nd round. This is where you want to see who fell. What value still could present itself. We got TJ Ward at safety. Not much at corner. Linebacking core. I still got Brandon Spikes. He'd be pretty badass. Navarro Bowman's there, but that'd be a little bit of a reach right now. If he's still in the 3rd round, hit me up. Carlos Dunlap at pass rush would be, I'm not going to lie, we could just swoop up some Gators. The last of, like, the golden generation of my Florida Gators. If there's a really nice O-lineman, maybe a little TLC there, but unfortunately, I mean, Velda here wasn't too shabby. Out of Hillsdale as a pass block. You have Jeff Backus on a 1-year rental. He's 74 overall. He's up there in age. You got Jimmy, again, God. Jimmy Graham's also there. Wide receiver, we did not get a great role. And the question will be, if we wait till next week, can we get Antonio Brown? That would be fun. Javid Best is there for a what if. I mean, if we're looking at this truthfully, I think we'd go get another pass rush. Our defense was worst in the NFL, so investing our first 3 picks there would be wise. Not a super cheese pick. Dunlap 37 in true value, getting him at 40. So right around where he should be going. But we get the 6'6", near 280-pounder with 89 acceleration, 84 speed, 85 strength dev trait he's gonna be a problem on the other side of Cliff Averill. So unfortunately, applying the rules that we use in our 20-year rebuilds, where you have to select a player within the top 32 picks of your given pick, still can't go for Antonio Brown. Now, if he's there in the 4th round, might be. We'll be all over that. We need to find a player that's like within like the top 110, give or take. And with Taylor Mays falling, that could just be a fun, see what happens. I think I want to do that. We missed out on a what if and Javid Best. We'll bring in Mays, 121, no dev trait, but at 6'3", 230, 98 acceleration, 93 agility, 93 change of direction, 96 speed. Maybe there'll be something there. But my bad, we didn't even have a 4th round pick, so absolutely missed on Antonio Brown. So, damn it. I mean, looking at these UDFAs, not one. Oh, man. I mean, we couldn't pick one anyways. It's not like I missed the opportunity. And I remember, LaFell had a really disappointing rating. I mean, we can't go Riley Cooper. Sus. I think we're just going to be a one-man squad up there. It's going to be Megatron. Everything's going to go through Megatron. Wow. Not gonna lie, not super familiar with any of these players that are still available. Maybe grab a corner here. Werner was solid. B-zone coverage. If I'm making it a blind pick and I'm looking at those grades, I'd probably pick him. 67 at 136. Nice. So even though we're unable to grab the wide receiver that we wanted, Ndamukong Suh, I mean, whatever the hell happened there, not going to complain too much. 81 at pick 8. Joe Hayden, 76 dev trade at pick 9. 2nd round, we get Carlos Dunlap, 72 with the dev trade. We get Taylor Mays. Werner's a 69. We finish up with a couple death moves there, but that's a hell of a draft. So as we start year number 2, gear up for the 2010 regular season. Teams, it looks better in a way. Not so much on the offense. Our offense was, pretty potent, all things considered, with Stafford and Megatron here. But we didn't really add much to the running back room. But I do think Smith is a serviceable running back. He's still going into his 3rd season, so there's still some upside there on his rookie contract. Would have loved to get Antonio Brown if it worked out, but house rules are put in place for a reason, so we don't just have ridiculously overpowered drafts. And I still think you could make the argument we had a ridiculously overpowered draft. On the defensive side of the ball, we had one of the worst defenses in the league, and we were able to get Ndamukong Suh, 81, Joe Hayden, 77, Carlos Dunlap, 72 with a dev trait. We have both Peterson and Sims now up to superstar. DeAndre Levy's playing excellent football. We have a freak of nature athlete in Taylor Mays as our project piece on defense. We had Corey Graham in free agency as our corner 2. And I think, 5-11 last year. I think it might still be a little lofty. We still don't have a complete roster saying, yes, we are absolutely going to the playoffs. But I think we should be in contention for around a 500 record, which should put us in the wild card race in the NFC. Looking at the 2011 draft class, I mean, our needs kind of line up with the needs of the Lions at this time. This was a very good draft class, regarded as, really one of the best of all time. This was a class, they got Nick Fairley in the 1st round to pair with Ndamukong Suh, and Fairley was an absolute beast at Auburn. Now, NFL career didn't necessarily pan. It wasn't a bust per se. I think he kind of falls into a disappointing, didn't live up to expectations, but he still was a decent D-tackle. But we need D-tackle. We need a partner in crime with Ndamukong Suh, so that could work itself out depending on where we finish. Outside of that selection, however, not a great draft for the Lions. They got Titus Young in the 2nd round. That was a bust. He never even finished over 1,000 yards in his career. They had Mikel LeSure at running back at Illinois in the 2nd round. They had 2 second-round picks. He was kind of butt cheeks. So I think there's going to be opportunity here, unlike last class where we did, Ndamukong Suh was always really a priority. I think we can maybe go a different direction this season. Knowing what we need wide receivers. Julio Jones, A.J. Green, even the secondary options would be big-time improvements and complementary options to Megatron. Torrey Smith and Randall Cobb could get that job done. Left, bringing tackle could be if Tyron Smith is there. Run that one up. Costanzo, Solder, Franklin, all are very serviceable tackle prospects. I think our interior is pretty decent. Probably want to avoid most right tackles, excluding Marcus Gibbs. We could continue the Florida pipeline. that we've established here. D tackle's a need. Darius Fairley. Corey Liuget was pretty good for the Chargers. Not a lot of secondary D tackles if we missed the first initial wave. Corner. You know, if we really suck, man, that'd be pretty cool. Get Patrick Peterson. Mid-season, still struggling. Still don't have a complete roster. Battling to go around 500, which I think was our cautiously optimistic, realistic range for this season. We have plenty of salary cap remaining. I do want to be a little conscientious of the fact that, and I mean people like Jason Hanson, like, you know, if you want to keep playing till you're 75, by all means, we're not spending that money elsewhere. But when you have the big draft class like we just did, Sue, Hayden, Dunlap, those guys, when it comes time to pay them, are going to be incredibly expensive. I think if we kind of go with a let's build through the draft type approach, and just hand out low-level deals, you know, maybe on second guess, maybe we shouldn't have paid Ernie Sims like $100+ million, because I think we want to try to keep this core guys together. But Megatron, there is absolutely no way. 6 years, 260 mil. You are a lifer here. Not going anywhere. So not exactly the results we were looking for at the end of year 2 of this rebuild. We are at least, you know, progress. We're back into a 17-game season. So that was just kind of a one-off there. But we go 6-11. Which is not great, but look at Megatron. He's kind of blocked by the webcam. He had a hell of a year. Matt Stafford, not the touchdowns you'd love to see out of a superstar quarterback, but we know with only one wide receiver, and I mean, maybe this will be the draft. Last year was all defense. Maybe this year, show a little TLC on the offensive side of the ball. Kevin Smith was a role player. Megatron went off, though. Over 100 catches, 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns. Now, like, what's 9 touchdowns less than he had a year ago, which is slightly concerning, but it's not, you're not going to complain about that anyway. Pettigrew role play numbers is what it is defensively. Ernie Sims and DeAndre Levy with great seasons. We get 8.5 sacks on 19 TFLs for Ndamukong Suh. Still just not getting anything from our DNs, unfortunately. I mean, the TFLs aren't bad. 13 TFLs, 11 TFLs, double digits, but you want to see at least those sacks doubled. I'd take 6 sacks each. Corey Graham, the free agency signing, leads the team with 3 interceptions. For award winners, we have Calvin Johnson winning both Offensive Player of the Year and Wide Receiver Year for the second straight time, and very close runner-up Defensive Rookie of the Year for Ndamukong Suh. And we could have had another alternate universe if we decided to go a little bit different in the draft. We could have had both these guys. Kind of regret not doing that. Take a look at the final mock draft for the 2011 NFL Draft. We actually had a decent pick to be a 6-win team to have the 3rd overall selection. We're going to miss it on Watt and Cam. Currently projected to get Von Miller, which would be pretty sick, but we got to go. We got to go offense. Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson. We have another 2 first-round picks? Wait, how is this happen? How do we have so many? What is going on here? We got another 2 firsts, and then everything goes back to normal. Wait a minute. They had back-to-back 2 firsts in real life, didn't they? They did. So we're getting like, we had the first, okay, so like whatever reason, we got the 2 first-rounders from the Stafford Pettigrew year. We had 2 firsts last year, which we got Ndamukong Suh and Joe Hayden. They gave us 2 firsts this, so that's kind of, okay. Well. Let's have a good draft. I mean, right? Like, right? Like, that needs to be imagined. Because they brought in Roy. When did they get, man, why do I keep, look at that. Why do I keep bringing up Roy Williams? When did they get him? Am I just, like, dating myself severely? I am. He was 04. That was well before. But they had 2 first-round wide receivers when they brought in Megatron, so why not post number 2 in true value at 3, Julio Jones. Jeez, I mean, we better 50 touchdowns from here on out. All right, so with our second first-round pick at 8, this is where we could go running back. Get Mark Ingram, Heisman Trophy winner. I do think offensive line, like the best lineman. Is there a lineman worth drafting? Because Patrick Peterson's still on the board. Oh, there's no... I think we just take the hand that's dealt to us here. We have this opportunity to draft like this before it goes back to normal next year. Why not stack as many blue chips as we possibly can? Now in the second round, DeMarco Murray could be interesting. I think we need a power back. That's like the scheme fit. And he absolutely, wow, he's an elusive? I don't believe that. He's probably closer to a power back than he's not. So DeMarco Murray would be interesting because the O-line still kind of stinks. Rodney Hudson wouldn't be too bad. You could probably live with that. Really wish, man, there was like a legit, maybe Marcus Gilbert if he's there in the third round. I think we got to go O-line here. We'll grab Rodney Hudson. A run block, B impact block, ends up being a top 20 talent at 35. First time a draft hasn't fallen our way this year. And Marcus Gilbert got overdrafted. Can't necessarily blame him. But Marcus Cannon, he had a nice career. Was a solid tackle for the Patriots. So I think he very well could end up being BPA. Top 100 player, not the best. Might have a depth trait, which he does, and 98 strength. So from a draft recap standpoint, absolutely crushed it with the first 3 picks. Helps that we had 2 first rounders again, but Julio Jones to pair that with Calvin Johnson, I would be probably depressed if this doesn't work out and breaks the game. Patrick Peterson was very clearly BPA steal at number 8, even though I wanted to go offense heavy, and we were still able to grab a nice offensive lineman in the second round. Still, kind of desperately wanted a tackle. Marcus Cannon, 67, but he does have a depth trait, which helps and gives us some upside. He likely will start for us at right tackle. Let's actually just make that slide right now. But I do think in a perfect world, if there was an imaginary tackle at that pick 8 that could justify being like, well, he might not be as good as Pat People, it'd be like a high 70s depth trait. I think I would have done that. But I think we made a good call here in the second round going Hudson over DeMarco Murray, because I think our run game will be fine. But man, oh man, what is a Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, Matt Stafford offense going to look like? Please be insane. The fact of the matter is you do not have the kind of drafts that we have had to stack Julio Jones, to stack Ndamukong Suh, Joe Hayden, and Patrick Peterson in 2 straight drafts. Throw in Carlos Dunlap as well and expect 5-11, 6-11. You know what I'm saying? This team, at minimum, has to be above 500, or we may need to take under consideration, change up on the coaching front. I think at minimum, if we're not getting 1,000 at a Megatron and Julio Jones, there's a problem. So I've been season 4-5. So the record not great. Our team rating is coming along. The first in passing yards, top 5 in rush yards. So it's, those numbers are fine. Those numbers are at least not hit the red button and blow up the entire coaching staff. Looking at salary, what we are going to do, and I've learned this lesson from our 20-year rebuilds where we like to just keep everybody. I think you got to throw name value to a franchise in real life out the window. You have to justify your contract extension versus just trying to keep everybody, especially with the fact that in a perfect world, Suh, Hayden, Megatron, Stafford, Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones, all these guys get re-signed. If that's going to be our plan, well, your Julian Petersons, your Iolas, your Kevin Smiths, your Cliff Avrils. Like, I'd almost always sign this guy. But, where's his sacks at? He had 3 sacks last year. Simply cannot. Now he's at 2. That is not worth the investment. I think Sherless at tackle is interesting because our tackles are so bad. He's a former first-round pick. But also, he's not interested. 1, 2. Let's see if we bump that up. Give him some round numbers. 10 and 9. I'm not going to go much higher than that. If he declines that, I think we're going to be in the market for a new right tackle. We are. Seeing this week 11 Stafford heating up 350 and 4 tuds. At the end of year number 3, the 2011 regular season, we just scraped our way into the playoffs. 9-8. Number 2 passing offense. Defense kind of middle of the mall. Don't have a run game. Kind of in line with the Lions were in real life at this time. But when you have Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson, look at that. Stafford, second in yard now, 29 touchdowns. I feel like we could do a little bit better than that, but I'm going to move the webcam. Look at that. Julio Jones and Megatron both on the... That's really... Hey, you can't ask anything. That was that minimum what I wanted to see. Even if we missed the playoffs, as long as I could see this offense finding a way to get both those guys to utilize their talent and get them the football, I'd be all right with that. Now, we need more touchdowns. 29 is a little on the light side, but almost 5,000 yards for Matt Stafford is pretty badass. Not 85 catches, 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns for Julio Jones. 90 catches, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns for Megatron. Pettigrew was, pretty decent. We're getting decent return on investment for him as our third, priority in the pass game. Ernie Sims over 100 tackles. We get 11.5 sacks from Dunlap, 11 from Ndamukong Suh, 6 from Julian Peterson. Cliff Averill, again, justifying that it's probably the best decision not to give him that contract extension. But man, oh man, for having Joe Hayden and Pat Pete didn't even get a pick. These corners need to start figuring it out. The back-to-back streak of Megatron winning Offensive Player of the Year and Wide Receiver of the Year comes to an end, but I will gladly trade that to have both him and Julio feast, as Julio Jones is our only award winner winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. So we get our first taste of playoff football against the 12-5 Green Bay Packers, led by Aaron Rodgers, almost had 50 touchdowns on the season. They got Clay Matthews on the defensive side of the ball. BJ Raji is there, and we gonna win. Suck it, 24-16. They gave her the ageless wonder, Julian Peterson, the veteran linebacker, gets Defensive Player of the Week. That is going to be incredibly frustrating for Aaron Rodgers to get Offensive Player of the Week in a loss. I know how that feels. We've had how many rebuilds end that way? But look at that. When it comes to it, 2 touchdowns and a pick from Matt Stafford. We got Megatron, 87 yards and a touchdown. Julio there. Pettigrew was solid. And on the defense, Player of the Week performance from Peterson. Sack and a half from Suh. Sack from Dunlap. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, doesn't get any easier. We get the 15-2 49ers, who have the number 1 offense, number 3 defense. Tough out. It's a very tough out, but can they contain... Ooh, it's a shootout. Oh, man. Julian Peterson, former 49er. Matt, that's painful. When you have Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week with the NFC Championship game on the line and you still lose. I also like to think, where's Joe Hayden? Where's Patrick Pete? Where's this secondary that I've invested 2 first-round picks in? Well, you know what? I take that back. They got 3 picks on that. How did that happen then? 3 turnovers. We don't turn the ball over. Not a giant discrepancy in the running backs. How do we lose this? Megatron went nuclear. You can't let Laurent Robinson go off like that. They got Crabtree, Julio Jones, a humbling playoff game for him. They didn't crush us in sacks. Tied on sacks. That is an unbelievable loss. We got the offseason, had a couple retirees, none bigger than Jason Hanson retiring after 20 years in the league. So at the end of the season, dev traits, Julio Jones, X Factor. I think Stafford's, if we can get the touchdowns up a little bit, he will become an X Factor. Megatron obviously maintains. Not Pettigrew had a chance to go up dev trait. He remains a star. I might give Sherrillis, because he's a scheme fit now at right tackle. Give him a contract extension. I'm not sure. We'll see. Cannon developing nicely. Hudson developing nicely. Both just star devs. On the defensive side, Pat Pete and Hayden, superstars. Ernie Sims up to a superstar. Suh's up to a 90 base overall. We're in a good spot. Those our picks are a mess. We're going to pick up the 5th-year option on DeAndre Levy, decline it on Pettigrew. And I think for Sherrillis, he looks a little bit more open-minded. Take that 3-year deal. What's the franchise tag on you, buddy? Congratulations, you played yourself. Look at the 2012 mock draft. This was the class as relates to the Detroit Lions. Riley Reif was a first-round pick. Not bad in hindsight. Outside of that, they got Tahir Whitehead in the 5th. Gave them some good value, but other than that, not a particularly notable draft class for the Lions. Some big names in this class. We are projected low 20s. Pick 25, Chandler Jones. Wish we were picking 23, Cordy Glenn and or Riley Reif. Honestly, I'd be all over a tackle, especially with the 5th-year option on Sherrillis. Don't know if there's going to be a long-term extension there. But I do think this pick will come on the offensive side of the ball, all things equal, unless there's a clear BPA on defense. So you look at our team needs. We need a center. Probably need a guard. Need a running back. This could be the year. Maybe we find a complimentary play. Even though we could just hammer Ndamukong Suh on fullback dives as our only run game. Tight end, technically, I don't really foresee me paying Pettigrew. So if we can get another young tight end on a rookie contract there, if that's BPA, could be interesting. Need D tackle help. Need pass rush help. I think we're probably good on linebacker. You can go cheap there because it's still going to be primarily be Levy and Sims out there. So D tackle, pass rush, interior lineman, running back. I think for this draft, at pick 25, we're going to draft for need. I think Harrison Smith is still on the board. We're not going to troll the Vikings. I want players at positions of need. We need a pass rush. Do we have pass rush? Not really. Do we have a D tackle? Not really. Chandler Jones. Okay, well, Chandler Jones, I can live with it. That's where we had going in the mock draft. Cordy Glenn, ooh, tackle. That's a good get. What do we have on the interior? Silatalu, if Kalisio Assembly's in the second round, probably won't still be there when our pick comes around. Zeitler wouldn't be a terrible pick. Tight end, pass. Running back, pass. I think we trust what the mock draft had. Continue to just throw as many assets as we possibly can on the defense. Chandler Jones. You know, prioritize your mental health, everybody. That's all we'll say on that. Now we got an easy selection here. Akeem Hicks within our house rules. Perfect compliment next to, like, let you just be the running, you know, eat the blocks up, double teams, let Sue do his work. We need a center. Greg Van Roten, who's still starting in that. I think he had I don't know what team he was on. I think he actually had like a breakout year PFF-wise last season in real life at like 30-something. A run block, B pass block. Was it the Raiders maybe? But that said, I mean, I'm feeling like this guy could at least be high 60s. We could survive with starting him. Ooh, crowd's booing that pick. We kind of need a third receiver. Marvin Jones Jr. had his best years as a Detroit Lion, so we'll go grab him and throw him in the mix with Julio Jones and Megatron. So take a look at our draft recap. I think we might even need to look and see if we could trade for a running back, because our running back room is terrible. Marvin Jones Jr. 68. We got Van Roten 62. Gross. But Hicks and Chandler Jones on the defense. I don't know how many more resources we could throw at that defense for them to continue to underperform. Vikings had an insane draft. RG3, Alshon Jeffrey, and Lamar Miller. On top of Stacks Harrison. Jesus. So we're going to hit the trade block. LeGarrette Blount was on the block from the Seahawks as their RB2. So I'm going to send them Williams, who's just a little bit of a fluff piece. I mean, he's nothing crazy, but the beat of the deal is that fourth-round pick. And we now have at least someone that could start at running back, even though he is in a contract year. Midseason of year 4. Here we go. Finally. It's a slow burn, but 6-3. A record we could only have dreamed of the previous 3 years. $134 million. We don't even have the option for the 5th year for Matt Stafford. Jeez, I mean, we gotta have to, like... I don't even know. I don't even know what that final number is going to look like, but this rebuild's about to get a lot more difficult. Now I mean, Pettigrew's not coming back. Shareless. We're going to have to save some money. Who are the 5th-year options this year? Sue and Hayden. Okay. That's where we're at there. Honestly, I'd say in this situation, if we can get Shareless on a 3-year, it's not a brutal contract to deal with. But Delmas and Pettigrew are gone. 7-year, $532 million is what it takes to get Matt Stafford to lock in for probably the rest of this rebuild. So now that Matt Stafford's been paid, he needs to produce from here on out in the first year of said contract. 12-5. Passing offense in check. Defense almost top 10. We win the NFC North for the first time. Look at the stats. Stafford runner-up to Vince Young, who's kind of popping off right now. Look at Matt Stafford, 2nd in yards, 2nd in touchdowns. 43 touchdowns, only 4 picks. 4,700 yards, got over 1,000 yards. 17 touchdowns for LeGarrette Blount. Maybe we resign him. That's what we need. We need to look at 55 broken tackles, power back, thriving in the scheme. 102 catches, 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns for Megatron, 11 and 15 for Julio Jones. Pettigrew had a damn good year. Good role play numbers from Mr. Marvin Jones. And maybe there will be a time where he's bigger than a role player. But for right now, yeah, we're force feeding Julio and Calvin Johnson. Defensively, Ernie Sims leads the team in tackles. Also has 5 picks. We got 13.5 sacks. Dunlap, 13.5 Chandler Jones, 11 from Ndamukong Suh, and 8 on 12 TFLs for the rookie Akeem Hicks. So all these guys are having career years for the most part. The interceptions, these are the best interception numbers we've had. So finally, the whole team, now that Matt Stafford's got paid, is putting it all together. Unfortunately, Matt Stafford is runner-up for the NFL MVP award, but we do have Megatron winning Offensive Player of the Year and Wide Receiver of the Year, and Quarterback of the Year goes to Matt Stafford. Divisional opponent in the wild card round, the 10-7 Green Bay Packers, who are pretty good defensively. That is what they have relied on all year. And we win an ugly one, but we win. First playoff game, first playoff win. And that's a lie. Last year we made the playoffs. Last year we got a playoff win. First playoff win as a champion of the division. And look at the defense holding Aaron Rodgers under 100 yards passing. Let's go. The Arizona Cardinals in the division round, they were 11-6, led by Larry Fitzgerald. Good run game, good everything. That's one of the better teams in the NFC here in the divisional. With the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game is going to have to wait as we go back-to-back seasons 1-1 in the playoffs. God, Tebow. No. Silver lining, no one was stopping Tim Tebow this year. So we're going to bring LeGarrette Blount back on a 3-year deal after his breakout campaign this season. I am going to accept the 5th-year option on Ndamukong Suh. I'm going to decline it on Joe Hayden, so I don't have to deal with those 2 contracts the same season. So we're going to try and figure out, honestly, hey, can Joe Hayden justify the contract extension? He's a great player, 90, superstar. Probably a 99, but he hasn't really put up big-time numbers for us, so I still need to see a little bit more. With the 2013 draft, not going to have an opportunity to draft who the Lions actually got. He's projected to go 2nd in Ziggy Ansah. That's a name I haven't heard in a minute. For us, this is not, a crazy class. Slay is there. That'd be another player that would have been cool to eventually run back here in Detroit. We are at 25. It looks like there's going to be some nice interior alignment. Kyle Long and or Travis Frederick would be pretty good picks. Looking at our team, we need a center, which would line up for Travis Frederick if he's still there at the ass end of the first round. We need tight end. They're letting Pettigrew walk. We need a free safety. We got to replenish what has been leaving the building. That pick 25 in the first round. At tight end. Ooh. Now, if he's there in the second round, we could have a lot of fun. If not, Jordan Reed. Got a couple Florida Gators. That'd be a shrewd business. Travis Frederick at center. Kind of the home run pick right now. Or we take a look at safety. Kenny Vaccaro. Not brutal. Well, I think we take this gamble. Can we get Frederick here? And can somehow Travis Kelce be available in the second round? Now, Frederick needs a haircut. I'll get my maths all wrong. We need the third round to be Kelce. We got to pick players within the top 32 of where we are selecting. And that is still a little too rich for him as the 100th rated player. So let's take a look at safety. Kenny Vaccaro still on the board. Falling out of the first round. I think looking at, if I was going BPA at safety, he's probably going to be the best. Micah Hyde might be the number 1 player that's on the board here. But I think I can live with Vaccaro here in the first round. A hit power, B tackle. Tone setter in the secondary. 37th in true value at 57. And he has a dev trait. And the thing, just inaudible noises. That's all I can give you. Kelce goes at 83 to the Patriots. We're at the clock at 89. Imagine throwing Kelce into an offense that has Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones. So we're going to have to wait next round to get Jordan Reed. Damn. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, at this spot here, we could always... You could always double up on the safeties. Just run it back, get Micah Hyde, number 29 at 89 with a dev trade. And Jordan Reed's gone, so we're not... House rules kind of fucking us right here. We'll get Tyolo. Well, that's a face scan. That's interesting. Well, outside of our own rules, sabotaging our ability to get a tight end this year, still feel pretty happy with it. We needed a center and a safety, and we ended up getting two really good safeties. Hyde, actually the better of the two, and Travis Frederick. What that does is we have Taylor Mays at the other safety spot. He is a developmental player. If his price point to resign is a little higher than I think it should be, or... we want to put that money elsewhere. We now have cover at that safety position, but we are absolutely screwed at tight end, unfortunately. We get a great what-if in Marcus Lattimore. If you know, you know. You remember that name. He's one of the most hyped-up running backs of a minute in college football, and unfortunately suffered just brutal injury after brutal injury. Well, he has a chance here as our RB5. Now into the 2013 season, we are 6-1. That gives us an opportunity here to reflect on just how potent everything about this offense is. Defense coming along. Now we're at the not-so-great time where, from here on out, because of the Stafford contract, we are going to have to be picking and choosing. Taylor Mays, nope. Verner, nope. Corey Graham, nope. DeAndre Levy, $66 million, nope. Carlos Dunlap looking for over $200 million. There's no chance. Joe Hayden would be the one I'd want. But even then, he'd have to take this money. I don't think I can go much higher. So, there's a chance we're going to have to replace all this. And then year 5, utter dominance by the Detroit Lions, which we needed because we're about to lose a lot of free agents, a lot of talent. So this is certainly a window. 15-2. I wonder who the two were. Just out of curiosity. We lost to the Colts in the season opener, so that's Peyton Manning. And then we lost to the Packers in Week 9. That's a team we could very well see in the playoffs. But 15-2 for our super team. And honestly, the missing piece has been LeGarrette Blount. Look at that. He was first in the league in touchdowns, second in yards. Stafford played well. We had double 1,000 yards, even though you like to see maybe a little bit more touchdowns from Megatron. I'm not going to complain about any of these passing numbers. But it's been LeGarrette Blount. I haven't changed my offense, but we've changed the style around. We get a power back in. He goes 1,300 yards and 19 touchdowns. What a beast. Sims, tackle machine. Sue goes off. Dunlap, 9 sacks, Hick, 8.5 from Chandler Jones. A little less than last year, but ultimately not that bad. But the interception numbers, man, that's not a $100 million corner. I'm sorry. Especially when we have at least Pat Pete to be that corner one for an extra season. The big LB, LeGarrette Blount, is our only award winner, winning running back of the year. So our first opponent in our playoff run as the Big Dogs in the NFC, we get a below 500 LA Rams team that has a really potent passing offense. Ugly win. Very ugly win, but a win is a win. 13-12. We don't choke it. Low scoring game. Oh, that's where Peyton Manning is. He's not even with the Colts anymore. That's on me for assuming. Cyrus Gray just comes out of nowhere. There's that little bit of, we're running the Lions offense, so there's your Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery action going on. Julio Jones had a decent game. Dominican Sue kind of took that one over for us. Now the Super Bowl on the line. Are we going to let a barely above 500 Tim Tebow-led Cardinals repeat and get back to a Super Bowl? We come on. There we go. Again, not pretty. Offense maybe not playing to their level that we need to, talent-wise. But a win is a win is a win. 21-13. Stafford, 3 touchdowns, does have the 1 pick, but outduels Tim Tebow this time around. And the Lions in year 5 are in a Super Bowl. Not a great record on the Vegas Raiders, but they're led by Cam Newton. You got Darren McFadden, top 10 rushing offense in that backfield. Namely, Asma is still there. I think it's a great year for us to win the first Super Bowl ever in Lions history. All right, let's go. Big time Super Bowl. Go football. Detroit 15-2. Cam Newton cheat code on the other side. This should be a very interesting matchup. Tied at 7. Going to halftime, down 7. Open up the second half. Great drive. Settling for a field goal. Feel like we can't really do that. We need to be touchdowns. Oh, what a drive. Okay, I'm not going to play this. We're going to go moment by moment. Boom. Julio 16. Boom. Touchdown. Matt Stafford to Marvin Jones Jr. And it is a field goal lead under a minute to go. What can the Raiders do? Cam Newton throwaway. We get a penalty. Boom. Nothing. Boom. Loss of 7. Carlos Dunlap. It is 4th and 27. They don't have Freddie Mitchell. That's what I want to see, baby. First time ever. It's a nice 3-0 playoff run. That's a Super Bowl win versus the Vegas. Now I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Do I wrap this video up, or do we kind of treat this like a 20-year rebuild in a way and go all the way to present day? But we'll just soak in this. We're about to lose a lot of talent. Bunch of starters. The core. Stafford. Megatron. They're our contract guys. And eventually, if our team could have like just the 4 of Stafford, Megatron, Ndamukong Suh, and Julio Jones, and then we just kind of fill in the pieces around that and continually draft really well to keep that team, that core together. That's kind of what I envision if we keep on keeping on here. You know what? I don't need to look elsewhere. MVP, give it to Matt Stafford. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up just because it's not branded as a 20-year rebuild. It's just me rebuilding the worst team of all time, which is the winless Detroit Lions. And it's more so that if I want to do the full 20 years, go to present day, which is not 20 years. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This video will not be out for another day or two. So we won the Super Bowl. I think there's other terrible teams that we could just win the Super Bowl and kind of keep this series in the universe, the C4 verse of using the retro rosters, but we don't go 20 years. We just go till we win a Super Bowl. But if you guys want to see, I'm not going to delete the file. Us finish things out and just see what we can do with this Lions team. I will certainly not oppose it. And I guess I could say as a consolation prize, this series, doing the Lions here, doesn't exclude them from doing a 20-year rebuild. I think that's going to be the easiest way. This is a video that's kind of separate of that, and I still have the Lions on my short list of teams that would be pretty fun to run it back for a full 20. But looking at these stats of what our super team has been able to accomplish so far as we navigated the waters of 0-16 to winning a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford through 5 seasons, 21,000 yards passing, 163 touchdowns to 43 picks. We have LeGarrette Blount, who's maybe been he's been at least equal to a game changer as bringing in Julio Jones on the offense. Finding that power back is absolutely a necessity for this Detroit Lions offense in Madden 25. And Blount has been absolutely incredible. Bargain. Megatron is over 1,000 catches, almost 14,000 yards and 120 touchdowns. He's been unstoppable. Pairing that with Julio Jones, 3,900 yards, 41 touchdowns in only 3 seasons is absolutely ridiculous. Defensively, we have Ernie Sims, 600 tackles, kind of leading the team here. 44 sacks on 68 TFLs for Ndamukong Suh. Chandler Jones and Akeem Hicks are certainly emerging as well on that defensive line, but we just never got the interception numbers. That's why, it would have been hard-pressed to pay Joe Hayden that $100 million deal. So that's how we were able to rebuild maybe the worst team in NFL history, the 0-16 Detroit Lions. 5 years now, we did get a massive assistance in having those double first-round picks. Being able to get Patrick Peterson and Julio Jones. Being able to get Ndamukong Suh and Joe Hayden. And then we followed up Chandler Jones, Travis Frederick. Bring back Marvin Jones Jr. Everybody served a role and had a pretty damn good team. Now, the only kind of good news of getting out right now is this is not a fun roster construction. This is going to be, and this would have been years and years of us just losing guys, drafting guys, losing guys, drafting guys, because we can't afford anybody else outside of our megastar players, which is a challenge within itself. But I'm not going to lie, kind of happy I don't have to deal with that right here today, because I feel like that's what happened the last 20-year rebuild that we did of the Carolina Panthers. You know, point in time in that, go check it out if you missed it. Late game, like the last couple seasons, dude, we paid, like I had a $500 million quarterback in Marcus Mariota, who was just winning MVP left, right, and center, and I just could not afford to re-sign any of my other good players, and it just became really, really frustrating, because then it just came a window of, we'd lose this guy, I could draft someone good, but by the time that person that was drafted to be the replacement is good, I'd have to pay them, and I couldn't. It was just a vicious cycle, and I feel like that's kind of where this video would be heading towards. We were able to get our job done, achieve our mission statement, and win a Super Bowl. So if there's any other bad teams, as long as they fall between 2003 and 2024, I can have any of those starting points. Shout out to, I think Ninja was the guy that I don't want to misquote, who's great community over there, was able to kind of provide these different starting points, which I think can make some very interesting content. So let me know in the comment section below if, I know the Browns were butt cheeks. They had a win this season, or any of those other historically bad teams. I can go fix them and try and win a Super Bowl. And for those situations, we probably won't have draft classes where we have multiple first-round picks and the challenge. And hey, we started with Matt Stafford already on this team. We had Stafford and Megatron. We just had to fill in the pieces around them, and we were able to do so. So that'll do for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If it is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Comment who you want to see next. Both those things help out this channel, help out this video with the YouTube robots, and support my content. And I very much appreciate that one. Until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out. Love ya. Have a good one.